When you think about gap, you think about a breakaway. You think about GC favorites being gapped and trying to catch to whoever attacks on a treacherous descent. You think about somebody losing time, and more importantly for the cycling fan, you think about fantastic racing and excitement. There's many examples that kind of define the racing into gap or descending into gap. But most importantly, 2011, Alberto Contador's attack on Col de Mans, taking Cadel Evans with him and gapping Schlecks and the latest French hope to win the Tour de France at that time, Thomas Voeckler. Um, they were descending on the wet road. They put in a minute into the Schleck brothers, which actually that eventually allowed Cadel Evans to win the Tour de France on the last time trial. Of course, another mythical stage into gap was the stage in the 2003 Tour de France where Alexander Vikonurov attacks over the top of the Col de la Rochelle, I believe it was, getting a 15-second gap, and then Armstrong going after him and taking Joseba Belocchi, taking Jan Urlik and a couple of the other guys with him, and Belocchi attacking on the treacherous descent, another treacherous descent into gap, and going and in front and then hitting a hairpin called by now the Belocchi hairpin and crashing heavily there, forcing Lance Armstrong to go into literally a farmland, cutting the hairpin and surviving, kind of running with his bike to the other side. So this is probably one of the most iconic videos in the recent memory of the Tour de France. So there is certainly a possibility for another crazy finish like this tomorrow. The question is whether the riders will conserve energy tomorrow for what's coming up in the Alps. Another stage into gap. This time I think organizers really took their time to find like the safest way to get into gap, right? Usually some of these climbs like the Col de Mans or the Rochelle are usually short category 2, category 3 climbs, but they do have a steep gradient and they have a very treacherous descent that's super fast, that's like 8-7 kilometers long right into the finish. So it certainly favors a fast sprint finisher out of a small breakaway group or a single rider who can definitely descend, right? 200 kilometers tomorrow, kind of slightly rolling before that finishing climb. I think on the way, we only have one category 4 climb here at 110 kilometers. There is a long riding plateau from 74 to 110 that goes up for about 20 kilometers, but it's not very steep. And then once we're over the top of the Rochette, it's kind of a straight shot to Col de la Centennial, which is the climb into gap that we have another descent from. That could be treacherous and could see attacks. Tomorrow is going to be hot again, 92 degrees, so definitely over 30 Celsius, right? Very south of France now, heading towards the Alps, towards the getaway to the Alps, which is the town or the city of Gap. So the final climb, right? This is where the most of the action will take place. It's called Col de la Centennial. Col de la Centennial. The profile suggests that it's 5.6%, 5.2 kilometers, but that's actually not true. That is deceiving because when you look at the climb in detail on some of the other web pages and some of the other GPS, and Strava things, you've quickly realized that a climb is actually steeper than that, but the one uh, half a kilometer section at 3% at the top. So I looked at it very carefully, and the climb tomorrow has a 1.3 kilometer section at 6.5%, right? Not as steep for, that usually Alaphilippe likes, but, I'm getting to the what I would love to happen tomorrow. But 6.5% is actually enough, right? It's a serious climb for 1.3 kilometers. It has a 250 meter section of 7.4, or rather almost 7.5. Okay, it is 4 kilometers in total, over 6%. So I mean, it is a pretty serious climb with two steeper section. It has a 2 kilometer section at the beginning, which averages 6.3%. Then it flattens out. Then another in the middle. It's a kilometer and a half, which averages about 6.2, 6.3. And this is where the steepest section would be before it flattens out for the next kilometer. And for the last 500 yards, it is at 6%. Whether that's enough for the men like Alaphilippe, who knows, right? So tomorrow, who is going to go in an early break, right? There's going to be that classic thing tomorrow where a bunch of guys are going to try to establish a breakaway. This is the last time for any attacking specialists, for any fast men and any pure descenders who can climb to win a stage in this Tour de France. So expect fireworks early on, right from the gun. The break is trying to be established, several attempts, and finally a big group getting away and whittling down as we get, closer to the Centennial before the final selection takes place there. Boy, I mean, there's going to be probably a breakaway of like 15, 20 riders established, but this is a stage for a newly redesigned Astana. We saw today during the stage 16, Jakob Fuglsang is out of the Tour, right? Really kind of a silly crash, right? It can just, it just tells you how nervous these stages are when there's a little bit of a wind, when it's supposed to be flat and calm, and then just, it just turns out like that. But Jakob Fuglsang's abandoning the Tour means that all the really good Astana riders that have been held to help Fuglsang are going to be now released. And what that means is pretty much the entire Astana team. So, Leon Sanchez is going to go out for glory, for sure. Right? Super fast in the finish, can climb. Pello Bilbao, same thing. He's got nobody to work on now. Lutsenko is another fantastic rider. He's definitely going to go out in the early breakaway to look for glory. Another one, Magnus Kort from Astana, another really good rider. I'm also expecting CCC to feature at least one or two, or if not three riders, right? Greg Van Avermaet is a big favorite for tomorrow. He's kind of had a quiet Tour de France by his standards. He was busy early. He got a polka dot jersey for a little while. He was kind of there in the sprints, getting like fourth and fifth when it was hilly, right, during the stages when Alaphilippe and De Gendt were attacking and winning the stages. But this is by far probably his best chance, and he can get over this climb. He can descend. He's got bike handling skills, all right, and he can finish. So the CCC leader should be in a break early tomorrow, and should certainly be one of the candidates for a big win in Gap. Another CCC riders that should feature is Serge Powell's, right? Can't get over the climbs. Simon Geschke is another one, which we saw on the stage in the Pyrenees, right? Did really well. Um, was attacked on a very steep climb, and then was with Simon Yates early on the slopes before he got dropped. But he can certainly climb. And if two of the CCC men go, like Van Avermaet and like Geschke or Powell's, things could be very interesting for the Orange men, right? By the way, from far away, the Orange men, other than CCC, look kind of like the old Ascari team. So, except without the green little stripes, but they certainly do. So the orange, I thought, was an eternal color for the Ascari team, which is dearly missed in the peloton. Um, another really interesting group for tomorrow would be the AG2Rs, right? And AG2Rs don't have their GC leader. I mean, he's still in the race, but he's struggling. Lost over 20 minutes the other day, so certainly regrouping in their camp. All right, regrouping of the goals too, changing of the goals, and pretty much the entire AGR2 team probably is going to be on attack tomorrow. I'm thinking definitely somebody like Charel, right? Matthias Frank, Oliver Nielsen, Tony Gallopin tomorrow. All of these guys are going to be all over the road tomorrow. Cofidis, obviously, always there represented. Herrada is going to be there. Laporte. Some of the other favorites that I'm looking at is from Beheran, right? These guys need they need something, right? It hasn't been a very successful tour for Beheran, right? The whole thing with Ronan Dennis, right? The whole trouble with whatever equipment between arguing with the riders. So I'm thinking that maybe Nibali will have a crack again because he can descend, and we know how the finishes to Gap usually are. Um, Mohric is another one that could be really good if he can get over the final climb, and if there's a little group finish, he can do really well. Caruso Damiano is another good one. Dylan Tunis, although he already won the stage, and he actually looks pretty tired. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with my hat here. So yeah, who else? Polka Dot Jersey fight, right? Resumes. I think either De Gent or Tim Wellens are going to be out for glory again, trying to win the stage and trying to get a little bit more points in Polka Dot. Now, every point in the Polka Dot is already counting because what? Thibaut Pinot is getting close, right? Mitchell and Scott, typical guys. MP and Matteo Trentin. By the way, Matteo Trentin is reportedly close to signing for CCC. So that would be a great signing for the Orange Men. Other interesting riders we should take a look at for tomorrow. Fabio Fellin. I'm thinking Ciccioni. I'm thinking Bassenhagen. He knows the road very well. Remember, he was competitive on stages to Gap already in 2011. Jesper Stuyven, Rui Costa, Henao, Kalmejan. Simon Clark is another very fast finisher. I would not put it out of Sagan's abilities and strength. I would also not discount Matthews. He really wants this stage win because he's not really competitive. I mean, he is, but not really in the top 5 of his sprint finishes. They actually changed his leadership role, and they gave the younger guy okay to go for sprint finishes, which is really interesting. Roach from Sunweb, another really good rider. Leonard Kama, Mr. Offredo, he's always out there. Mr. Rosero, always out there. Xandro Miris, Ben King could be there too, good climber. Julian Martin, he's like 20th overall in the GC, so a little far away, like maybe like 20 minutes behind. So he could be allowed to go off in pursuit of the glory. Um, the question now is whether one of those the GC climbers who lost time will slip into a breakaway. Somebody that's not that super dangerous. Maybe Nairo Quintana. I'm not anticipating for somebody to give Dan Martin or a shout. I don't think Badret will be attacking tomorrow. I think Badret will be attacking a little bit later on in the Alps. Um, so I'm not really anticipating GC climbers to go early on this stage. Now we'll have to see what the tactic is. We'll have to see if they'll actually let the breakaway go far away, or they'll try to control it and set it up for Alaphilippe men. Um, I looked also not only at the climb itself, but on the descent. And although the organizers tried to find a descent that's actually safer, um, the first 3 kilometers, right, of the Centennial is actually pretty technical. And I was looking at the map and a GPS, and in the first 3 kilometers, you have 380-degree hairpins that should cause problems, right? Especially for the front guys that are just going 100% for the win. Um, Definitely nothing like Col de Mons, definitely nothing like Rochelle, right? But still, first three kilometers, few very steep and very technical hairpins. The road is actually not very big. Um, uh, Question of the stage, right? Will Alaphilippe attack on Col de Centennial in one of his signature moves and tries to get time in a finish, right? Uh, that's a tough one. You saw today Mass having issues, right? His captain, his main helper, his main domestique in a tour having issues. I think today he lost like 15 minutes. He's reportedly leaving for Movistar. So now you have a lot of these things getting involved, right? I mean, whether Mass is doing it on purpose, whether there's some problems there, or whether maybe he's just not feeling well. But this is going to be a huge blow to Alaphilippe's chances to get the yellow in Paris. So geez, I mean it's a tough thing because common sense would tell us save your energy for the Alps. Okay, the climb is not really just um, you know steep enough for Alaphilippe to go, but at the same time it is fairly substantial. So how Alaphilippe may actually try something, and it's later in the tour and everybody's tired. So the climb, if ridden really fast, can make a difference. You can also make a difference on the descent. So it's really hard to say if they're going to conserve the energy or not. Now, of course, we all of the cycling fans in the world want Alaphilippe to go for glory, and I personally think if I was him, looking at the team that he has, right, looking at Mass having issues, his top domestiques today, um, you know, his team situation is just getting worse and worse and worse. So what I probably would do myself is I'd probably have a crack at it, right? I'd probably go tomorrow and see if I can get off the top, get over the top with like a 10-second lead and see if I can make some more of a difference on the descent. It's only 8 kilometers from the top of the Centennial to the finish in Gap. So plenty of descending and short enough time to actually not only conserve your advantage, but to to survive to the end, to the finish line. So, the main question for the stage is whether Alaphilippe will attack in one of his signature attacks, which we all want, or, will he conserve his energy for the Alps? Now, he could put somebody in trouble, right? He's by far the best descender out of the 6 guys that are still in contention. And yes, today actually you saw Geraint Thomas crash again. All right, so he's banged up now too. How are his descending skills after all this crashes now? Second time he crashed in the Tour de France. He was out of Tour of Switzerland with another crash. How are his descending skills? So looking at it, I mean, Alaphilippe could get one of the or two of these guys in trouble. Thibaut Pinot can't descend really well as well. So this is about taking every second to Paris, okay? And there are many people think that Alaphilippe just has no chance that he's going to crack on those Alpine Giants. So I personally think he should attack, right? He should try to gain 18-20 seconds back, brings him up to 2 minutes, and look for his chances in the Alps. Another really interesting team that may try something tomorrow on the Centennial. Centennial, by the way, starts 14 kilometers from the finish. The descent starts 8.5 kilometers from the finish, so perfectly positioned. Movistar is always the one on the attack. They need to fight every day to have any chance of getting a podium or winning the Tour de France, right? Landa is really good. So, who knows? Maybe Valverde will go too. So they have two joker cards to play, right? And either Valverde or Landa might actually try something tomorrow on Centennial, right? Everybody thinks it's going to be kind of like a, conserving energy day, but I wouldn't go that far. We'll see. My favorites for tomorrow, the riders who can sprint, all right, but who can get over the climbs, so the classic specialists, and the guys, of course, who can descend that first technical part and survive to the finish. So if it's a group finish at a breakaway, I'm thinking Greg Van Avermaet, I'm thinking Daryl Impey, Matteo Trentin, Jesper Stuyven, even Vincenzo Nibali, Mockreach, maybe Clark, maybe Boston Hagen. I also wouldn't exclude somebody like Matthews, who really needs to win a stage, right, for his confidence and for the team. And also, I would not ever exclude Peter Sagan in a situation like this. He could do it tomorrow if he has the energy. If it's a breakaway, I'm thinking De Gent. I'm thinking Astana guys. I'm thinking AGR2 guys. Also Rui Costa. Maybe Geschke. Maybe Pols. Maybe Nicholas Roach. Okay? So hopefully you liked the preview. I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow in a tour. Well, I haven't really picked anybody. I'm not sure if I want to pick, but I'm gonna go just for the hell of it. I'm gonna say Greg Van Avermaet wins tomorrow, right? A victory for CCC. Yeah, thanks for watching, and if you have your picks, I'm curious to hear them. Make a comment on the video, and just curious about your overall thoughts again, how this is going to unfold in Alps. It's pretty exciting. And if you like the video, hit like. If you like what I'm doing, hit subscribe. Hopefully you're riding out there. Today is kind of rainy and cloudy. I didn't go yesterday because of the rain, but I'm definitely going to be out tomorrow because it's going to stop. All right. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy the tour tomorrow. All right. Take care.